channel. We're the Choose here from Choose to Explore, where we teach you guys how to see the world
and save $1.
So we just came from an amazing bucket list birthday trip for the Queen's birthday, and none other than Greece.
Yes.
And this beautiful country had so much to offer.
It did not disappoint at all.
Today, we're going to give you guys everything you need to know before you go to Greece. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss this one.
So the first thing you're going to want to know is, when is the best time to travel to Greece? So if you're planning to hit the islands, you're going to need to know that they're open usually between mid-April to mid-October, with July and August being the most popular times and the hottest times, and also the most crowded times as well to visit.
Yes, this is the European and American summer vacation, so a lot of the kids and families are off, so expect a lot of crowds, especially in July and August.
Yes, and also the prices are up during that time as well. Now, if you visit during the shoulder seasons, when it's more so the fall or the springtime, you have cooler temperatures, but you can still enjoy the islands just as well, and more favorable prices as well. Now, if you're visiting Athens, you can visit year-round.
The weather may be more favorable outside of the winter, unless you do like the snow and the cold. When we actually visited Santorini, our cab driver let us know that the island of Santorini basically is not open during the cold winter months. So it opens up usually March, April, and closes in October. So plan that around your trip if you do plan to go to Greece. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is how long you should stay in Greece. Now, this is a loaded question because the longer you stay, it's always the better you stay, especially if you're in Greece. But I guess my wife will give you a better answer.
Yes, I mean, if you have limited PTO, honestly, you might have to cut down your trip. So the minimum recommended, I would say, is about 2 days in Athens and at least 3 days in each island that you plan to visit.
During our trip, we visited Athens for 2 nights, we visited Santorini for 2 nights, and we also visited the island of Paros for 2 nights as well. But we wish we could have way more time in Greece.
Plus, there's thousands of islands. There's so many more islands to see than just those.
Our next point is a super important point, and that's, please do not skip Athens. So when I was talking to a lot of people about this trip before and trying to plan things, everybody was telling me about the islands. Nobody really mentioned Athens. And I think that's a big mistake, because Athens is going to be the cultural, international hub of Greece. And Athens honestly blew me away, and especially being a New Yorker, cities don't really impress me, but the way that it seamlessly integrated the historical as well as the modern in the city really was amazing. Also, there are so many things to see, amazing food to eat, and it's also relatively, for a European city, inexpensive. During our 2-day stay, we did so much, and to see our full experience as well as the price that we paid for everything that we did, you can see that video linked in the top right, also in the description below. And if you guys are getting anything helpful from this video, please give us a big thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel. Yes, we're waiting for you to hit that subscribe button. So just subscribe and show us some love. Yes, right now.
Now, while Athens is amazing, most people do come for all the islands, and there's so many of them. But also, it's not just Mykonos and Santorini. There's so many more islands to explore, as I mentioned earlier.
Now, being that there are thousands of Greek islands, each one is going to have a different vibe. Now, Mykonos is really known as a party island. So it's definitely going to be a younger crowd. Think beach clubs, think parties, think an up-tempo environment. We actually decided to skip it because that actually is not our vibe when we travel. Instead, since we had such a short time, we prioritized other islands. Now, for my wife's birthday, we had to visit Santorini. And as big as a tourist trap it was an amazing island. Santorini is known for the volcanoes, the calderas, the black sand beaches, the white domes and cliffs. Truly a magnificent island, and some of the most beautiful sunsets and sunrises that we've ever seen.
So if you want to see that full experience, including everything that we paid while we were in Santorini, you can check out the full vlog, which is linked up top as well as in the description below.
But the other island that we decided to visit is Paros. And while this is a pretty big island and still is relatively touristy, it is a lot more low-key than Santorini and Mykonos, and we love the experience there.
Yes, it's definitely my favorite island that I visited in Greece, and I actually wrote an entire blog post on the top things to do while in Paros, while visiting all the different neighborhoods. Everything was so quaint, and it was just really my vibe, my pace. So check that out on choosetoexplore.com.
Also, when I think about Santorini, I think about those whitewashed buildings with those blue domes. But one thing that did surprise me is it's not just in Santorini. Other islands also have those. So that was really interesting for me to see, which can also give you amazing photos without the humongous Santorini crowds.
So overall, the smaller islands have cheaper prices, less tourists, and also similar beauty.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about is where to stay. Now this really depends on how long you're going to stay in that particular destination. If you're only going to spend 1 to 2 nights, it may be best to just be in a central location that you can easily get to the different attractions.
It may be more expensive to stay more centrally, however, it would be more of a benefit to you to be closer to all the things on your itinerary.
One resource that helped us save money on accommodations is Plannin.com. It's actually a free resource that we use in order to get exclusive discounts and also get personal recommendations from other travelers who have visited different regions. You can sign up using our description in the link below and also see the other amazing destinations that we visited as well.
Yes, and once you sign up, you actually have access to up to 40% off on hotels all over the world, so it's really a win-win.
One thing that I do love about Greece is that there is a budget for everybody who wants to go there. They have very low-cost hostel accommodations, which are going to be tens of dollars, and they also have extraordinary luxury travel destinations, which are going to be thousands of dollars. So whatever budget you are, Greece will meet you.
And we actually included some of our top stay recommendations inside of our Explore Greece travel guide, which you can find linked in the description below, as well as on choosetoexplore.com. And all the recommendations are organized by budget, so you can find your travel preference as well.
The next thing may make or break your vacation in Greece, and that's to book things in advance.
Greece is popular, so a lot of people are trying to go and do a lot of the same things that you're trying to do too.
So if you don't book things in advance, your wife may yell at you the whole vacation because everything she wants to do is not available.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Fellas, it's not worth the risk. Book it in advance. Now that includes your accommodations, transportation, restaurants, literally anything you can think about to book in advance, book it. And think about this, if you pay for it beforehand, it's essentially a free trip, right? That's how the math goes, right?
Yeah.
Now, speaking of things that you need to book in advance, we're going to talk about booking ferries. For our trip, we actually booked all of our ferries months in advance using FerryHopper. Now, this is a website that has the different schedules and it tells you the different islands and the different times, and it also is a resource that you can actually book your tickets as well. One thing to note is you may look on a map and say that this island is close to this one, but that doesn't mean that the ferry schedule lines up that way. It may be 15 hours the day that you want to go because they may actually go in the opposite direction, back there, take a break for 6 hours, and then go to the next island. So before you start planning your trip and booking things, make sure you look at the ferry schedule so that you can figure out the way to get to where you want to get to.
Another big point about taking the ferries is that you definitely want to make sure that you know where you are. So they may stop in a different island before they reach your island, so don't get off at the wrong island.
That'll definitely mess up your itinerary. Generally, I would say that the ferries are going to be cheaper than flying, but not just cheaper, they're also going to be more connected because a lot of the flights land back in Athens and then goes to the next island if you can fly to that island. But we actually caught a really good flight sale with Asian Airlines. We subscribed to their airlines and they let us know when there was actually a Black Friday sale, and that's when I booked the tickets. And we flew for like under $40 one way to get to Santorini, as well as flying back from Paros to Athens, Greece. The next thing that I want you guys to be conscious about is Greece means there's probably a lot of walking and stairs.
So we didn't really see many elevators while we were there. Lots of cobblestone streets, stairs in the alleys. It's just a lot sometimes.
Honestly, ladies, Greece may not be the place for those itty bitty heels. Walking on that cobblestone, you may just on your ankle.
Bring your sturdy shoes.
And also, like, you may want to island hop and go island to island, but your luggage may not let you do that. So carrying that rolly suitcase on cobblestone up 6 flights of stairs to get to your accommodation, in practicality, it's not a good idea.
So this next point is really essential for you planning your trip to Greece. Probably should have been the first thing we mentioned, but here we are. So this is all about the entry requirements as US citizens. So you do need a valid passport, meaning it's not going to be expiring within the next 6 months, and you also need at least one empty page so they can stamp your passport. And you don't need a visa as an American, as long as you're not staying longer than 90 days.
But after staying that first day, you may want to extend your trip to 90 days.
Maybe.
So maybe look into it.
So next up, we're going to touch on the water. So can you drink the water in Greece? Maybe not. So honestly, we always just end up using bottles of water while we're there in Greece because there's some places that you can drink the tap water, some places you can't. It's kind of hard to keep up with where is safe, where isn't. So just be the safest and drink the bottled water.
I would say I forget sometimes and I brush my teeth with the tap water, and I didn't have a problem, but use it at your own discretion.
Be safe.
The next thing that we're going to talk about is the currency. So Greece is actually a part of the EU, so they use the euro. So for majority of our trip, we actually paid with our card. There were little shops that were cash only, but for the most part, we used our card.
And if you're wondering what credit cards are good for travel, don't worry. I wrote an entire article for you to check out right there on choosetoexplore.com.
The next topic we're going to talk about is staying connected while you're in Greece. So one way that we avoid high data and roaming charges is we get travel eSIMs when we go abroad. Holafly is our preferred carrier because you have a local SIM, and unlike a lot of other carriers, they have unlimited data. You just input the amount of days you want, and you can stream your phone and be connected to the local towers. For more information on that, you can see that linked in the description below. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the language in Greece. So I'm not going to lie, going to Greece, it honestly intimidated me because Greek is so different than English. I mean, like the letters, the pronunciations, everything is so different than what I'm typically used to. But I will say, communication during our trip was not an issue at all. Pretty much everybody who we encountered spoke English, and a lot of the menus that we did receive were in Greek and English, so were easy to translate. And the ones that we couldn't see, we just used Google Translate, took a picture, and it translated everything for us.
Easy peasy.
And pretty much everybody who worked in any form of hospitality spoke English, especially the younger people. The next thing that we're going to talk about is safety in Greece. So one thing that a lot of people warned us about is pickpocketing.
So yes, there are pickpocketers, especially in more crowded areas and public transportation.
So we didn't have a first-hand experience with pickpocketers, but we also don't keep anything valuable on us, and we travel with bags in front of us so we can see everything. So generally, I would say we felt safe during our time in Greece.
So definitely don't have your wallet or your phone or anything valuable in your back pocket, because that's an easy target.
But you can never expect the unexpected, and that's why we always travel with Safety Wing travel medical insurance. We love Safety Wing because it's affordable at about $2 a day for people 35 and under. It covers so much from lost baggage, missed flights, as well as a medical portion if you ever do get sick with food poisoning, hurting yourself, and so many other things.
And even if you are over 35, there are still affordable plans as well.
For more details, you can see that linked in the description below. The next thing that I'll mention is having a tight schedule in Greece.
Don't do it.
So if you have a tight itinerary going island from island, accommodation to accommodation, there's so many things that could go wrong along the way.
So leave room for delays or cancellations and anything that could be out of your hands. And we heard from many people that sometimes the ferries can be notoriously behind schedule.
So just make sure that there's space in your itinerary to accommodate for things like that. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is transportation in Greece. So when we were in Athens, we typically took public transportation, we walked a ton, and we also took Ubers. Now Ubers were actually just the yellow cabs, and they also ran on the meter. The Ubers were relatively inexpensive, like $3-4 Ubers to get to the main attractions, and you'll definitely save a lot of money by taking the public transportation. But Athens really is a very walkable city. Now on a lot of the islands, I personally would recommend renting a car or an ATV. Renting an ATV will give you a lot of freedom and flexibility, as well as save a lot of those costs from the costly taxis on the island. But I will note, on the islands, a lot of the roads are very narrow and windy, so just be mindful if you are not the most confident driver. Now, if you do want to see the world and save $1 and you don't want to drive, one thing that I would mention is that a lot of the islands have pretty good public transportation and it's relatively affordable. On the island of Santorini and Paros, we actually took buses to get around, and usually those were around €2 per person to ride the bus. And that includes even to get to the airport. The next thing that we're going to talk about is using the restroom.
So when you go, just make sure you don't flush the toilet paper in the toilet.
Yes, usually there'll be a sign to let tourists know to not flush toilet paper in the toilet, but also on the side of the toilet, you're going to see little waste bins and garbage cans. Just take that tissue and throw it in there. A lot of the sewers are really old and small, so you definitely don't want to clog the toilet on vacation and ruin your vacation.
And everybody else's.
The next topic we're going to talk about is the amazing Greek food and cuisine. So, Greece is world renowned for its amazing food. My favorite part about Greek food is the amazing fresh vegetables and the fresh ingredients really shine throughout the dish. Some of our favorite dishes are going to be the gyros, and what I love about these gyros is, generally speaking, they're pretty inexpensive, especially if you get the wraps instead of the platters. And the gyros are typically filled with salad, tomatoes, french fries, and some sort of meat, being lamb, beef, chicken, and for my wife, she even had
falafel, yeah. So they also come with falafel if you're vegetarian, and it's all very filling and very delicious.
On many occasions, I got €3 gyros, and even in Santorini, I saw some for like €5. So even though it is more expensive, it's still affordable.
Another one of my faves here in Greece was the hummus. It was super fresh and so great, especially with the pita bread.
Actually, the national dish of Greece is the moussaka, which is going to be similar to like a lasagna. It typically has either some ground beef or meat, but my wife actually got the vegetarian option and she enjoyed it as well. Also, Greece has some amazing dips, and a tzatziki is a dressing that you could either eat on the side or on top of a lot of your food. It's a white sauce and really good.
I would put that on everything. And if you're wondering where to find the best foods in Greece, we actually have our top recommendations for restaurants included in our Explore Greece travel guide, which you can find, of course, on choosetoexplore.com and also linked below in the description. So check that out.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about is your restaurant experience in Greece. So in the United States, a lot of the servers work for tips. So a lot of the waiters are constantly serving you.
So in the US, the food experience is usually more hurried and rushed, but in Greece, it's a lot more laid back.
But a lot of the restaurant culture in Greece is relaxed and laid back. So a lot of people meet over food, sit and talk for hours.
Fully digest.
So we want you guys to know that you have to let the server know that you would like to leave or ask for the check in order for you to go.
Or you'll be there all day.
Another thing about Greece is that tips are not really expected, and if you do leave a tip for excellent service, many times it's not the 15-20% that we give in the United States, but kind of rounding up your bill to the next even number. So another thing that I really loved about Greece is when you got the bill, a lot of times you got like a free snack. So one time we got little ice pops and little snacks that just came with the check and was amazing for me.
So next up, we're going to go into my favorite topic, which is the beaches. So in Greece, the beaches are pretty rocky, and also the water is pretty cold. It's super, super clear, beautiful, some of the most beautiful water you'll ever find, but getting in can be chilly. And we went at the end of August, early September.
So one thing that I will say is I'm Jamaican, so I have very high expectations for what a beach needs to be. Comparatively, the beaches in Greece are going to be more gravel, more rocky. So I would recommend just bringing water shoes just in case.
So while most places in Greece are not really wheelchair accessible, something that they are working on is at different beaches on different islands. They are including the Sea Track, which actually helps people with mobility issues access the water independently. So I thought that was really cool. They still have a lot more work to do to add them to more beaches, but if you do go to the Sea Track website, you can actually see where that is available.
And also the tie-in to the beaches are going to be about using the beach chairs and sunbeds. So in our experience, a lot of the beaches are going to be free. If you bring your own towel, you really don't have any expenses at the beach. But if you want to go into the beach clubs and get a day bed or a sunbed, a lot of those you're going to have to pay in order to access it for the day. And what was really interesting to me is it's different prices depending on how close you are to the water. So sometimes if you're all the way in the back, it could be cheaper. In the middle, it's a little different price, and all the way up front, it will be cheaper. But it all depends on where you're gonna sit.
No, in the front, it's gonna be more expensive.
Oh yeah. But it could be a good vibe if that's what you're into.
So if you're ready to plan your trip to Greece, we have everything you need inside of our Explore Greece travel guide, which includes links to directly book your accommodations, as well as links to the Google Maps destinations for every single place we mentioned, so you won't get lost. Also, everything is organized by price, so we can stick to your budget and help you see the world save $1. You can find that on choosetoexplore.com, as well as links below in the description.
So thank you guys so much for checking out our video. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're sitting here rocking with us, and we truly appreciate that. So please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one.